Good to be back on Daily Delivery. Michael Rand here, Patrick Reusse with you as well. And whenever we take a little time off, like we did last week, there's always kind of a backlog of things to get to. Patrick, we got no shortage of stuff to talk about today, including Vikings, Timberwolves, maybe a little college football playoff, maybe talk a little bowl game for the Gophers since we haven't done any of that because we were off last week. Patrick, we got to start Vikings. What is your confidence level right now in a 12-4 team that hasn't played anywhere really near its record? And, I think when they were winning games close earlier in the year, it was kind of endearing, and it still is, but I just don't feel like they've been playing all that well for the second half of this season. They haven't been playing as well as they had, and that includes some really mystifying performances if we go back to the entirety of the Dallas game, the first half of the Colts game, and now this blowout loss to Green Bay when you still had a lot to play for. I mean, they still could have been in the mix for home field advantage in the entire playoffs because of Philadelphia's loss. They could have wrapped up the number 2 seed, not wrapped up the 2 seed, sorry, because San Francisco ended up winning, but could have stayed in that spot as the number 2 seed, needing just to win over Chicago. A lot to play for, and they lay a giant egg. It was 41-3 until a couple of garbage time touchdowns. Patrick, what is going on with this team?
41-3, yeah. And the funny thing is, it wasn't like Rodgers had a big day or anything. They ran the ball, and then they took advantage of all the mistakes that the Vikings made, and kickoff return, and one interception return for a touchdown, and another one that set up a touchdown. And Cousins was terrible. The offensive line was, it's all beat to hell. And look, Brian O'Neill's not going to play.
Yeah.
But it was amazing. They've now been on their 12-4, and they've been outscored now by 15 points. And when you look back, we spent so much time celebrating that Colts game that we didn't pause to say, how in God's name can you get behind one of the worst teams in the NFL 33-0? How could you, okay, hey, what a comeback. It's fantastic. Well, the Colts played extremely stupid to let them come back. How do you come out of the tunnel at home and get behind that team 33-0? And then they go down there, and it's not like, as I said, it's not like Rodgers had one of these great days. They basically told you what they were going to do all week in Green Bay. The Milwaukee, they're going to go back to running the ball. They're going to try to run the ball because Dillon's healthy and Jones is healthy, and they're going to run the ball. And they did it. They held the ball, and oh God, it was terrible. It's just what a beating. 41-3, as you point out, is and the garbage touchdowns. Even the king of the garbage men, Cousins, they did do that. They got him. They went to the backup quarterback, but I don't know. They can talk all they want to, and they get the close against the terrible Bears, but they gotta be big doubts out there right now.
Yeah, I've got doubts. I've had some skepticism for a while now, and I think we could all have healthy skepticism just by saying, look, 11 of these 12 wins have been one-score wins, some of them in dramatic, unsustainable, it would seem, fashion. If you just think about the way they've pulled out some of these wins against, the field goal attempt in London that hit the upright and the crossbar, the comeback against the Bills, the comeback against the Colts, 4 or 5 games where it wasn't just, hey, that, they made a play. It was, they were on the verge of losing, if not for something really bonkers happening. And so now you look at it, Football Outsiders has a stat, DVOA, basically tries to measure the entirety of a team's, success, with through offense, defense, and special teams. It's a complicated formula, so I'm not going to get into it. Vikings right now are 28th in DVOA at 12-4. It's this team is the weirdest team I've ever watched. It's a Vikings team unlike any Vikings team I've ever seen, because the record comes nowhere near matching the results and or the process. And usually when we say that, it's the other way around. It's like, oh man, they've kicked away so many of these games. They should be
Yes.
better. This year it's the complete opposite. And I have no idea what to make of them other than I think their absolute ceiling right now is one playoff win, right?
Yes, and they're going to play the Giants in the first round, all likelihood, unless the 49ers would choose to lose at home to the Cardinals, which I don't think is going to happen.
Right.
Not in the Brock Purdy era, anyway.
No.
And so they, they're going to play the Giants at home. Giants are tough. I mean, they're mean. They'll have Barkley. They'll come in here and try to run, and I don't mind Daniel Jones, but Mike, I think this is not the most unusual Viking team ever. It might be the most unusual NFL team ever. I mean, we've never had a 12-4 team. They've been outscored by 15 points. They even yesterday, they had some really good breaks early on that could have given them a nice little edge. They had some good things happen to them. So it's not like their luck changed yesterday or something. They've been very fortunate all year. They got a lot of goofy wins, a lot of goofy breaks, and but this was a Green Bay team that was laughing at them.
Yeah,
they were doing the gritty, and they were taunting the Alexander kid who's been hurt most of the year, right?
Yeah.
He basically taunted our sports person of the year before the game, and then Jefferson went out and caught one ball, and I saw some feeble attempts to kind of blame the turf for some bad breaks.
Oh boy, yeah.
Anyone who wants to whisper anything about the Vikings being unlucky in any way or this season is just a homer of the. I don't know. They could go down and lose to the horrible Bears Sunday. Is that Saturday?
Sure.
Sunday. I mean, the Bears they packed it in about 3-4 weeks. The Bears don't really want to win. They want draft choice, but yeah, I don't know. It was pathetic, and as you say, they're laughing. The Packer crowd is laughing at you. It's 41-3. They've been behind 33-0, 41-3. They got
and lost 40-3.
Yeah, they lost 40-3. And you look back and say, oh, you looked at that Dallas and you said, man, what a team. What a team. Defensively, they can run the ball. They're just tough. And then they go out and give up 38 or something. I mean, they're not they haven't been great. So I don't know what to say. It's I've never seen anything like it in my long life. I'll tell you that.
Take a playcation to Mystic Lake. With 24/7 gaming, the good times never have to end. And you can satisfy your cravings at our restaurants and bars. Or relax in one of our luxurious hotel rooms. Those that play together, stay together. And don't forget to join Club M so you can spark new memories and bask in the rewards along the way. Follow the lights to Mystic Lake, where every day is play day.
Well, and I mean, the big concern too. I mean, if we're just getting beyond this game and getting beyond, what we've seen in some of these recent performances, is the offensive line right now. If like you said, if Brian O'Neill is out any amount of time, and he went out with a calf injury pretty early in that game, and they lost their backup center, so they were on to their third center, and there's no guarantee when Bradbury is going to return. Darisaw hasn't looked like himself for the second half of this season, and he's still dealing, I'm sure, with I'm not sure what it is, but he had concussion problems at the midpoint of the season. If you're talking about your tackles and your center being question marks right now, going into whatever playoff it is, and you're right, probably the Giants at this point, unless the Vikings win next week and San Francisco loses, which doesn't seem like a likely proposition. By the way, if I was the Vikings, I would not be selling out to win next week. I would be trying to get healthy, trying to get trying to get people's bodies right.
Yeah. Well, you're absolutely right. It's just yeah, I don't know if I might, if the Soldier Field, did we finally get turf in there? You still got the same rotten field, right?
I think it's the same field. Yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
positive, but I
it's
think it's
down
the
there,
same.
and
I
yeah,
think it's
I don't
grass
know if I
still.
want to put. I don't know if I want to put Cousins out there on that field. Yeah, I'm right. I'd try to figure some things out and not worry about it whether the Bears are beating me or not. And uh, yeah, I mean, it's here's the deal, Mike. When's the last time they ran the ball at all? I
Yeah,
mean,
that's true.
Dalvin Cook's averaging about 12 yards a game here for a month, isn't he? When's the last
Well,
time he had 90 or something?
and that was the least impressive thing about yesterday. They get the ball at the 1 after the
Mm-hmm.
blocked punt, and they try to throw on first down, which I think is fine. I didn't love the play, but then second and third down they ran, and that included the play on third down after they'd had to put their third string center in because I think it was second
Yeah.
down play where Schlotman got hurt. I didn't love that whole sequence in terms of what they were trying to do there, and to settle for 3 points after blocking a punt and getting the ball first and goal at the 1, that just set an entire tone for the day. But you're right, they haven't been able to run. I think Andrew Kramer had a good stat recently about how many of their runs have gone for no gain or losses, and I think it's only the Colts that have had more in the last, whatever, the second half of the season or something like that. So it's not just that they can't get the running game going; they're getting in a lot of these second and longs if they're trying to run on first down because they can't. Even when the playbook is wide open, they're not able to run.
So no matter what happens in Chicago, if this thing ends with a home field loss to the Giants in the first round, now are we just going to look back at this season as one of the greatest flukes in history, or what are we gonna look at this as if they get bounced out in the first round? I mean, if they get through the first round, then you can say, okay, they want a playoff game, but this is this has got it. I got a lot of heat last week, so I said, all you people who are celebrating these fantastic victories and having so much fun, don't be whining when they're 6-11 next year,
Yeah,
because when the break goes the opposite and the talent comes back to the level it was, and everybody got mad at me, but they could be 6-11. This team they could be 6-10 right now. I mean,
yeah. Well,
as you said, whatever that stat is, when you're
DVOA, yeah,
28th and whatever it is, if you're
28th.
28th in the league, they were probably 22 last year or something when they were, you know, Zim's got to be sitting home saying, "What in the hell? We played better than this last year, and I got fired." So it's yeah, I don't know, Mike. It's this is the one that you sit back and say, okay, they aren't that good. This is the one you just got to say they aren't that good, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like we've said this at various points this year, but the more evidence you have suggesting that, it just kind of gets to it. And by the way, last year in DVOA, they were 16th. They were basically a middle of the pack team in DVOA last year. This year they're 28th, which is
I think that calls for a Rand Ball analysis.
Yeah, might have to get into that a little bit. Might have to get
Yeah,
into that.
yeah, because I don't know what it is, but if it's the war of football, that's
It more or less is. Yeah, I mean it's not perfect, but generally the teams with the high DVOA are the winning teams. Like last year, the top 8 teams in DVOA were all teams that had double-digit wins. So it's not like some kind of phantom stat that's trying to explain away something. It's just it's got some credibility. This year, the top teams in DVOA are Buffalo, Philadelphia, San Francisco, Dallas, Kansas City, Baltimore, and Cincinnati. I mean, those are all probably the 7 best teams in the league right now.
uh-huh.
And the Vikings are 28th. So there you go. And to your point, how will we look at this season if they get knocked out in the first round? I mean, I don't know. I think there's still been enough moments along the way this year for people to just kind of accept the fun of whatever happened, but that will be hard to remember in the moment if they do get bounced in the first round of the playoffs or something, especially if it's an ugly loss, because I think you're right. I think what what's been looming in my mind for a while now is the reckoning to come. Like if we don't think this team is very good, and they've gotten, some breaks, but also, made some of their own breaks with some play in the fourth quarter. Next year, I mean, what's to come here? They haven't gotten a whole lot of contributions from young guys yet, not enough to make you think, okay, the next wave of talent is coming. You got veterans are going to be a year older. You got hard salary cap decisions to make. Kirk Cousins will be on the last year of his contract. You got a lot of offseason decisions to make.
Yes, and now Cousins had 2 straight 400-yard games that really inflated his statistics, but overall, how much better has he played than he did last year? Cousins games.
Yeah.
How much better has he played than he? I mean, he's had some incredible clunkers that were then rescued with great fourth quarters, or stuff like that. But so as I've said before, all those garbage time success he has, maybe he was just a fourth quarter guy. But
right.
But I don't know. It's just, I don't. This will change the narrative on him too if they would go and clunk out in the first round, and because there's this whole underground movement now. I don't know where it comes from that Kirk is great and we don't appreciate his greatness. And the reason Jefferson is great is because he's got Kirk and not vice versa. There's this whole Kirk phenomenon that is out there with the Viking fan base, and to me, he's the same guy he's always been. I never thought he was the problem, and
no, but he's not the solution either.
I never really thought he was a solution, but I thought they're better at quarterback than more teams, and they're worse than at quarterback. I always thought that way, and but he's no Brock Purdy, that's for sure.
I mean, that's the thing. You look around the league. I mean, and San Francisco's got a pretty impressive system, but I mean, it's hard to it's just going to be hard to justify, I think. But the tricky part is how honest are O'Connell and Kwesi and the rest of the decision makers going to be about what they accomplished this season, because there will probably be temptation and probably some I don't know how much of a directive they'll get from ownership, but if ownership says, hey, we won 12 13 games, we won a playoff game, why are you talking about making a bunch of drastic changes? But they might have to say, well, look, we're not going to have a year like this again, maybe for the next 1,000 years. So we have to do some things differently.
Yeah, that is. It's really it's unbelievable. You almost hate to bash them like this when they're 12-4.
Right.
Mighty. It's just it's Green Bay is still not that good. They were at them 41-3.
41-3.
Yeah. So anyway.
Well, at least Sunday's game made us temporarily forget about the Wolves, who have lost 6 in a row, including home loss to the Pistons on
home loss to the Pistons when you're ahead of them 30-12.
Yes, and 64-50, I think, at halftime still.
64-50 at halftime. It's impossible because Detroit doesn't want to win.
No.
They don't want to win, and you allowed them to. I mean, is Finch going to take the fall for this?
He might, because he's had no answers this year. I have not been impressed with him this year.
What are you going to do? Who are you going to go get? The guy from Denver. Who's he going to bring? Ryan Saunders back? I don't know.
What about Quinn Snyder?
Oh, he's floating around. Yeah, you think Quinn Snyder wants his job?
He can coach Rudy again.
Yeah, that's right. That probably would be. I wonder though if he looks at the team and says, no, thank you." Well,
if he looks at the dysfunction, maybe, but the roster still has plenty of talent. So, but bigger picture. I mean, six losses in a row. They've been without Towns for all those. Obviously, Gobert's missed some of this with injury, illness. They're missing a lot of their role players still. Like McLaughlin's been out for a long time now with that calf injury. Torian Prince, who had been a pretty good bench player for them, has been out with this shoulder problem for a while now. They miss guys here and there, but it doesn't explain the consistent problems of effort And defensive rebounding, like whether it's
Oh,
the
wasn't
bigs,
rebounding? It's unbelievable.
it's so frustrating to watch them try to rebound because
Isn't that why we got Rudy to
yes,
rebound? Didn't we get
yes,
Rudy to rebound? Why doesn't
yes.
Rudy rebound?
I don't
I don't,
know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
But here's the deal.
He took
You
3 shots the
have
other
to-
night.
How many? 3?
3. He was 3 for 3 from the field the other night. 3 shots. Okay.
They got to move. Okay, you got to move Russell in a
At the deadline.
firing contract, and you're gonna have to take some clown back, right? You're gonna have to financially take somebody back, right? But
Yeah,
you got
right.
to get him out of here. He's part of your bad attitude is him. Part of the he floats around. He makes two ends. Okay, here's what happened. Like 3 weeks ago, Rudy wasn't playing. They gave Edwards the ball. Russell was just running around to open spots. He wasn't handling the ball. But did the other teams figure out how not to let Edwards handle the ball? Did they change their defensive strategy? What's going on? I mean, that game the other night in the litany of horrible Viking, Timberwolves losses. That's top 12 in franchise history, which is saying something because they've had 5,000 of them. It was remindful of the one that ended up getting Tibbs fired basically that year. And who was that? Some terrible team came in and beat him, and you knew it was all over for him. But it was about a week later.
Yeah, after a win, he got fired.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, Finch is. You're right. You just hit on it. Finch is not the problem, but he's got no answers. So you got to hope somebody's got an answer. But Quinn Snyder would be perfect if he'd take the job. But if he's got to look around and say, okay, who's got a good team that's going to be frustrated and fire their coach? Because he's next in line for wherever he wants to go. Right? Basically, he's going to have choices.
Yes. Yes, he is. Yeah, he is. No, for sure about that. And it's, I don't know. I just don't know.
How about the $8 million a year general manager who signed for 4 more years?
Yeah, I think you got to stop giving guys 5-year, $40 million contracts because that was the Tibbs contract too. No, I think that was his deal, and it's
Tibbs never created this big of a mess. Even with Butler, it wasn't this big of a mess.
No, and Butler, I still would contend was a good trade. Like Butler was a good player. Like the problem was that the rest of the
problem was they gave the money to Wiggins instead of him. The problem.
Yes, they would be in a much different place if that hadn't happened. But you're right. I mean, I don't know. The more you look at it in retrospect, the more it seems like they wanted to make a big move, and they had been looking at trading Russell. They'd been looking at trying to get some other guys. What was it like? Were they looking at trying to trade for Murray? They were trying to trade for maybe a guard, and then Utah goes into this rebuild, and they decide, okay, this is what we're going to do instead. And I don't know if they talked themselves into the fit and how they could make it all work before they really had a good idea of it, or if this just hasn't worked how they thought. But the plan from the start just hasn't seemed like it hasn't looked good from the start, right? I mean, it's looked better than it has right now when everybody was healthy. But even when everybody was healthy, they were not playing anything close to good basketball on a consistent basis. So it's looked bad, and Connolly has not had a good first year running this team, and they're getting no help from their draft choices either.
Yeah, and by the way, they're both terrible. But the thing about it is, this guy, he was a Laurie A-Rod guy. I mean, Glenn Taylor had nothing to do with bringing Connolly, and he said, okay, if that's what you want to do. By the way, we had the story saying, okay, they're fine. They're going to come up with the next 200 million or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Well, what's going on here? Why don't they write out the check in Denver in December like they were supposed to? Now they're not going to get it till February.
I don't know.
What do these guys have the money? I mean, after after this was a screwed up deal from the start because, sell it to some guy who gives you the money. Right.
Yeah. Tough year for their 401ks. Maybe they had to.
Yeah. Whatever the hell it was. But, this is, here's the other thing. These guys, you know that long term that these guys are going to beat on you to get a new arena, right?
Yes. Oh yeah.
And so one way you're going to get arena is, because it's going to be $1 billion now, right, for these arenas, 800, 900 million. So your idea is you're going to get half from the ownership, right? These guys can't come up with the money to pay Glenn.
Yeah.
How the hell are they going to come up with any money to help pay for a new ballpark, a new arena? So this is, I said the other day, and I believe that Tim Connolly might have created the greatest disaster in the history of a franchise that has got endless disasters.
Yeah.
In the long struggle of this franchise, it's amazing they're still here.
Yes.
Isn't it? I mean,
yes.
They've been an embarrassment.
Yes.
They had an 8-year run. They've been an embarrassment. Even after their most glorious moment in 2004, they embarrassed themselves in September when Sprewell and Sammy both made jackasses out of themselves.
Right.
And it's I don't know. I'd hate to see that area of Minneapolis, with all the problems we got downtown, that arena disappear from its current location down there, because that would create an incredible gap in a city that's already got thousands of them downtown. But I mean, this is pathetic, and they're getting booed off the court half the time.
Yes, they are.
I mean, Detroit, they deserve to. Even Rudy didn't have the guts to say, well, you got to stop booing us after you lose to Detroit. They said, yeah, okay, go ahead and boo us. I don't know. But I don't you see a huge shakeup coming? I think I think Russell gets moved in February and Cat gets moved in the offseason.
I think so. And here's the thing, too, like even more before that, I mean, they had their players only meeting or player meeting. Gobert saying, things are fixable in our control. Once we figure it out, it's going to be a whole different team. Naz Reid says, we know why, talking about their problems. I'm going to keep it in house, but we know why. And Finch saying, I'm try to up the accountability. Maybe I need to think differently about who plays when and how. Maybe I've just got to shuffle it up totally different. So we're going to know what they talked about by what happens in their next game, right? We're going to know what they think their issues are by what the rotations are, who the starting lineup is the next game. So that'll be very interesting to see what that is.
If McLaughlin wasn't hurt, I got a hunch. I know what it would be, because Russell pops up, and he had about 3 games where he made shots and stuff, but he don't give a damn. He don't care. He's just a floater, and it's the fact that what's he making, 30? Damn,
yeah, 30 something, yeah, 30.
Unbelievable. Yeah, and so. Who's going to take him? Somebody's just going to take him for the. Is this a big free agent off season or not?
I don't know. The NBA is weird. Like, think the market kind of is whatever it wants to be. Sometimes, like, guys get traded. If it's not a big free agent market, it'll be a trade market. But I could imagine a team that wants to dump salary would trade somebody back that has another year left beyond.
That's your problem. If you move him, I suppose you can just play out the string and take advantage of his departure yourself, right?
Right.
That probably makes more sense to do that than take some load that you then have to keep for another year, right?
Yeah, unless you don't think you're going to be able to fill that, unless you don't think you're going to be able to gain, value from that. The problem is if they tried to make, if you try to make a trade where you're dumping salary, but you're getting value back, usually what you have to attach to that is a draft pick.
Which they don't have.
Don't have a lot of that, thanks to the Gobert trade. I don't know what else they do. I feel like Jaden McDaniels has been a disappointment to me this year. I know his numbers aren't that bad. He's a terrible rebounder. He's a good perimeter. He's a
shooter.
No, he's a good perimeter defensive player, and he's got he's got some skills, but I think they got a little optimistic about what he was, and if he was the one, if he was the reason they attached, I think the reporting has been part of the reason they had to give up 2 additional draft picks in that Gobert trade is that they wouldn't give up McDaniels. That doesn't look great right now, but I don't know. What I do think is that we're going to know what they think their issues are based on whatever they do in this next game, and so we can read into that pretty clearly.
Well, you're getting ready to play Denver and Jokic. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure Tim Connolly will come out and do a nice interview with the Denver people about his great move here. Who's more invisible, him or the guy out at the Viking complex? He hadn't said a word since he got criticized with that.
Oh, Kwesi?
Yeah, Kwesi. Kwesi doesn't talk either.
No, he doesn't. I mean,
pretty much invisible too.
Yeah, GMs probably don't need to talk a whole lot during the season, but Connolly, it would be nice to hear from Connolly at some point. I think he did something with The Athletic a few weeks ago. I think I read
Johnny, but there wasn't much meat in there.
No, it wasn't. No, I agree. But yeah, it'd be nice for him to kind of stand up and say, here's kind of the state of the franchise. This is on me, or this is what we think we can fix. Things like that. Maybe there's a lot going on behind the scenes. I would hope so. But yeah, we'll know what they think their issues are by their next game, and that will be interesting. You're right, because that is against Denver. Patrick, quick, let's talk a little college football. Quick, some great college football playoffs. Your Gophers, 9-win season, baby. Like you said, PJ Fleck, best coach in history.
I'm thrilled. Did we not? How many winning teams did they beat now? Syracuse ended up over 500, right? So that was a one team they beat that won more than they lost. Who else won more than they lost?
Jerry Kill's team did, didn't he?
Oh, that's right, Jerry Kill. Yeah, they ended up 7-6. Now, 2 of them. One of them was Valparaiso, which St. Thomas beat 34-7 or something. But
if you had told me Jerry Kill was going to win a bowl game this year, I would not have believed you based on what we saw.
Well, you know that they gave Valparaiso $400,000 to come down to play that last game.
Wow!
So they could be bowl eligible because they lost their homecoming game to San Jose State. So, but why would they write out a check to go to the Motor City Bowl or whatever the hell we call that damn thing now? I guess to boost the program. But yeah, it was now the proud Big Ten West is the Gophers won, Wisconsin won, Iowa shut out somebody. Maybe the Big Ten West was a lot better than we gave them credit for. How would you like to be an Iowa fan and say, we got one of the best defenses in the country, and these jackasses put out an offense that couldn't beat Augsburg?
No.
They couldn't move the ball against anybody. It was pathetic. But yeah, it was. You won a bowl game against. They actually had a harder time beating Syracuse than I thought they would. But you got some good players leaving. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Ibrahim is the best running back they've ever had, probably, and beyond the numbers, he was just that good. And Schmitz elected not to play in that game, but he was a great player. So they've had some good players. Are we done with the bonus years yet, or do we still got COVID guys coming back for year 6?
I think we still got some COVID guys like
coming back, right? Oppman Bell's coming back.
Oppman Bell's coming back. I think Spanford is coming back.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see. But
pretty soon you got to go back to the old 5 years, don't you?
I would think so.
One of these years, you can't just play them endlessly. Can you?
You've had these 7-year. The 7-year guys are the ones that really the guys that could have become doctors during their time playing football. Yeah. It's a little bit much, but yeah. I mean, hey, they won. Michigan lost. Ohio State lost. I mean,
two crazy games. Michigan just got itself in a terrible hole, and you never expected them to end up in a shootout, but I'm not surprised TCU beat them. But Ohio State played really well against Georgia. I thought they, Stroud runs the ball down the 30-yard line.
Yeah.
They got 30 seconds to go. And then the idiot Day, who's been taking chances the whole game. By the way, the fake punt, that guy did not get timeout called. BS. That should have been a first down for Ohio State, and they should have won the game. That was BS that they gave him that timeout. And they show it to me. He's still talking to the official when the ball is snapped to the guy. The official's still trying to get the message. You can't then 3 seconds later say, well, he wanted to call timeout.
Right.
And now they had, I don't know who their analyst was from their official guy, but he would have defended the officials if they, made the worst call in the history of mankind. But anyway, I thought Ohio State got some really bad breaks in that game. But Georgia's, you gotta bury them, and you can't. And then Michigan just, they got a bad call too. But you can't give up 51 or 2 points and then say, we got a bad call, right? So
no, you can't. You gotta roll with it. But it was a little disappointing that at least one of those teams didn't pull it out, because I thought, especially Ohio State, I thought they played really well and could have easily pulled that one out. But yeah, two really good games, two entertaining games. In those semifinals.
Today, Mike, we have the Rose Bowl.
Yeah,
the
weird,
Rose
right?
Bowl. The Rose Bowl, the event of my youth, the event, the one thing you look forward to every year, the Rose Bowl, and nobody knows who's playing.
No.
Penn State and Utah. It's this system has certainly, why we have, Mike, there were beyond the football playoff. Our Gophers, I tweeted this the other day that got everybody mad. We're in that exclusive club of 39 teams that won bowl games.
Unbelievable.
78 of the 126 teams in FBS played in bowl. 62%.
I was going to say that's like over 60%.
62% were in bowl games. Don't give me this crap that it means anything. Okay, 39 teams won bowl games.
That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah. So we'll have one bowl games when this is over that aren't the playoff games. Now, what is this system going to be once you put 12 teams in the playoffs?
Yeah.
And by the way, that is a bunch of BS too. If you're going to still have conference championship games and then have a first round of the playoffs, you're getting college teams are going to play 16 games.
Yeah, it's a long season, isn't it?
16 games. It's preposterous. It's ridiculous. But the game I'm looking forward to, I guess, is next week, NDSU and SDSU.
Yes.
I'm more interested in that bowl game than I am any of the others.
Those are two very good teams this year, and NDSU obviously has had the remarkable run, but SDSU is awfully good this year. They could very well win that game.
Yeah, they are. They are probably favored, and North Dakota State's all beat to hell. But anyway, Gophers win a bowl game. I'm so excited I can't stand it. But and now we get TCU. How about TCU? One of the who was coaching them at the end of last season, don't you? TCU.
I can't remember
Jerry Kill.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
4 games. Yeah, I got to call up the killer and say, you created this whole thing, man. You think a happy feet that he has if somebody calls him up with a better job that he'll bail out on New Mexico State? I asked him why he ended up down there, and he says they're the only team that offered me a job. So,
wow.
So we'll see. But anyway, the college football season is those games last forever.
Oh, they do. Yeah, they do.
Long commercial breaks, and they're just pathetic. They're all 4 hours. They're like they're worse than baseball games. Anyway, we got that, and the Wild. The only team.
I was going to say we got to mention the Wild. We got to get our 1 minute of Wild talk, because they don't excite me, but man, they keep winning.
Kaprizov is fantastic, and I think he's he pretty much carries those guys.
Yeah.
And they're way better than I thought. They're way better than I thought they were going to be. So, and they're getting good goaltending because Fleury doesn't have to play all the time. The other guy ended up being able to play, Gustafsson, so that's been big for them. So
yeah, maybe Guerin knows what he's doing. Guerin and Dean are a pretty good tandem. Guerin's got a pretty good sense of talent and roster building, and Dean can get his guys to play.
If the Timberwolves would be a lot, who would get wiped out of this team if Guerin was running it?
D'Lo would have been gone this afternoon. Would have been gone.
You out of here.
Yes. Yeah. Well, if he bought out two expensive but still reasonably performing veterans and just said, we don't want you guys anymore.
They're not like, you got a bad attitude. You guys think you run the team. Well,
we need to change the room. Got to change the room.
All right. Well, Viking fans, it's been a great year, but this morning you should be embarrassed.
Yes.
You should be embarrassed. 41-3.
41-3 before it really mattered. Yeah. Unbelievable. All right, Patrick. Happy New Year.
Yes, sir. Same to you.